Hey everybody, it's nice to meet you. My name is Kevin Kling and I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I don't know if you know where Minnesota is. It's way up in the north of the United States. We still have snow on the ground. We'll probably still have snow until April. And I'm here to tell you some stories today. And first of all, before I even get started, I wanted to tell you probably can't see from this angle, but my arms are probably different than yours. I'll show you my left arm. My left arm, I have 4 fingers on this side and no thumb. So if you were here and we wanted to high five, can't do it. But we could high 4 all day. And my right arm hasn't moved. I was in an accident several years ago, and so my right arm won't move. If you see my right arm move, let me know and I'll get really excited. So that's the story of my arms, and I wanted to tell you that because I think we're all different somehow, right? We're all the same and we're all different. Like, look, how many of you out there like pizza? Okay, 1, 2, 3, a lot of you like pizza. How many of you like pizza with pepperoni? Okay, still, yeah, a few less. But how many of you like pizza with peanut butter and tuna on it? Okay, not that, no, oh, there's always one, yeah, okay. So that's what we're all different, but pizza kind of draws it together, but then we kind of all go our separate ways. So I'm gonna tell stories today about what makes us different, what makes us the same. And I was thinking, because everybody's a little different, I was even thinking my brother, you'd never know it by looking at him, but my brother, when he was little, you'll see, this is a story about him. So I was a little kid. And my brother hadn't been born yet. In fact, he was about ready to be born. And I really wanted a little brother, really bad. So this whole story is my own fault, totally my fault. I wanted a brother so bad. I'd say, Mom, please bring home a baby brother when you go to the hospital. She goes, you know, I don't really have a choice. We don't know if it's going to be a girl or a boy. And I'd say, come on, just choose a boy. And please, Mom. And my sister wanted a little girl. And oh boy, she wanted a little girl so bad. And I, no, Mom, no, clearly you love me more. Let's go with a little boy. Well, my mom came home from the hospital with a little boy. La, 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 la. I had a brother. And I'd even made plans for him even. We were going to be best friends. He'd give me his dessert. He'd do everything I told him. You know, perfect. He's going to be the greatest best friend a guy could ever have. Well, Mom brings him home and he just lays there. He doesn't do anything. And I'm like, Mom, what's with this little brother? Can we bring him back? I think you got the wrong one. I think we got a dud. Can we trade him in for a better one? She goes, no, this is the one we got. She goes, don't worry, he'll get better. And I don't know about this. But as time went on, he grew. But then he grew more and more and more and more. And he didn't stop growing. I'm like, what's going on here? When he was 2 and I was 4, he was bigger than me. I'm not kidding. My brother was taller than me. And people would come up and go, oh, is this your older brother? I go, no. I mean, come on, look, no, look, I'm in pants. He's in a diaper. He can't talk. I'm the one doing the talking here. And at home, I've got a big boy bed and he's in a crib. I mean, come on, use your eyes. And then it was even worse. He'd go around touching all my things. He'd hold my toys. And I'd pull him away and he would cry and Mom said, give it back to him. I'm like, wait a minute. He's supposed to do everything I say. He's supposed to share his dessert. We're supposed to be best friends. And he is just annoying. Oh, he loved to eat. This is the one thing about my brother. He loved food so much. In fact, in the morning, he would grab donuts and hold them all day because he was afraid he'd run out of donuts. So he always walked around with these little fists and everyone thought he had anger issues, that he was mad. No, he had donuts in his hands because he loved to eat them. Oh, he was afraid of one thing though. At night, when the cars would pass, their headlights would go across our room. They'd make shadows in our rooms. And he saw this and it scared him. And he would cry and cry and cry. And my mom would always come into the room and she had a song that she would sing for him. It went, it's nighty-night for brother, for brother, for brother. It's nighty-night for brother, because we all love him so. And then his little eyes would close, and he would fall asleep, and his hands would unfold, and donut crumbs would fall on his bed. So he was really, I mean, between making me stay up listening to that song, touching all my toys, he drove me crazy. there was one place I had a break from my little brother, and that was at a place called the Old Woman in the Shoe. Okay, the Old Woman in the Shoe was a building in a parking lot in a shopping center. And when my mom would go in and shop, I would be let off at Old Woman in the Shoe. And it was a place where you could leave your kids. Well, my brother couldn't get in. He was too young. They wouldn't allow 2 years old in there. So I got to be all by myself in Old Woman in the Shoe. This place was great. There were cars, there were trucks, Legos and blocks, there were paints, there were markers, there were colored chalks, there was all kinds of bulldozers and tractors and strollers and dolls, games and books and rubber balls. There was trumpets and drums and hula hoops, hoes and rakes and shovels and scoops, roller skates, hamsters and snakes, jump ropes, frisbees, skateboards and bikes. There were games and marbles, wagons and trikes. There was everything from glitter to glue. Anything you wanted to do, it was there at Old Woman in the Shoe. The only thing I never saw there was the old woman. No, I never even saw her. But clearly she had made an amazing place for kids to go. Seriously, it was paradise. So my mom would drop me off at Old Woman in the Shoe, and then she'd go shopping with my brother. And one day she drops me off, and I had this day, I've been planning this day forever because I was gonna make her the best meal. Because of all those toys, my favorite toy was the kitchen. They had a little plastic kitchen there with a stove, a refrigerator, all kinds of pots and pans, anything you'd ever need to make a meal. So when Mom got back, I was gonna have, because she always made all the meals for us. And I was thinking, I'm gonna make Mom a meal, the best meal ever. So I started to work as soon as she left. I went to the plastic stove and I got a turkey, a plastic turkey, and I put it in a pan and I put it in the stove because, you know, turkeys take a long time to cook, several minutes. So I turned on the stove and then I got the peas on the top of the stove. I got the potatoes. I got everything. You can even think of your own things. What do you like? Your favorite meal in the world. That's what I was making. And I had the turkey going, everything cooking. It was working out just perfect. When this other kid comes up, well, he didn't know that was my turkey in the stove. And this kid opens up the oven and he reaches in and he pulls out the turkey and he holds it. I'm like, whoa, wait, my friend. No, that's my turkey and it needs several more minutes to cook. Well, he wouldn't let it go. And I said, please, this is for my mom. No, he wouldn't let it go. So I reached out and I grabbed the turkey and I pulled it away from him. Oh, he did not like that. And he reached out and pulled it away from me. I tried to explain to him. I even used the magic word, please. Had no effect. I said, please, no. And so I pulled it away again. This time, he pushed me and pulled it away. Well, that did it. I went up to the kid, I pulled it away, and I held my ground, and I'm fully expecting this kid to come down hard on me. This guy was really gonna come, and he started taking a step, and then he turned and ran away. I took the turkey and I put it back in the stove. I shut the stove. I turned around and you know what? There was my brother standing there with his largeness and his fists. He looked like he had anger issues, but he didn't. He didn't even know what was going on, but he'd scared that kid away. My brother had saved the day. And what had happened was Mom said they left and my brother cried and cried and cried and cried. And she had to bring him back, and the place said, okay, yeah, you can leave him just if he'll stop crying. And he saw me, and he came running across, and that's when he scared the kid. So my brother saved the day, and they asked me, you know, Kevin, would it be okay if we left him here while you played in here? I said, yeah, I think that is a fine idea. So my brother would stay with me when I was an Old Woman in the Shoe. He wasn't very good at cooking, but he was a really good eater. So that night we got home and there's my brother, and sure enough, the car's past the room and he gets really scared and Mom comes in. I go, don't worry, Mom, I got it here. And I sang, it's nighty night to brother, to brother, to brother. It's nighty night to brother, 'cause we all love him so. And he fell asleep and his hands uncurled and donut crumbs fell on his sheets. So that's the story of my brother. Okay, I don't know if you all have this where you live, but when I was a kid and I was in grade school, there were bullies. There were people that would pick on me because I was really little. And there's just some people that just love to pick on people. I don't know what it is, but they're out there, and it's just something they got to deal with. I think they're afraid, and I think all bullies come from fear. That is I firmly believe that. Okay, so I'm in school, and I come home, and there's this kid, Brian McLean, and he's always picking on me. And I tell my grandma, I go, Grandma, this kid is always picking on me. And she goes, don't worry about Brian McLean. And that's when she told me this story called Man Among Men. This happened many, many years ago when elves and giants ruled the land. And there was also humans were on the earth at that time too. And there was this little village of humans, and they were very happy. And there was one little kid, and this little kid grew up kind of like my brother. He got bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, he got really big for his age. He got like 5 feet tall when he was only in the 2nd grade. And he kept getting bigger, and he was the best at all sports. He was really coordinated. He could play all the sports. He was faster, stronger than anybody else. And he was this great kid, and he was so friendly, and everyone loved him. And he got into high school, and he was star of all the sports teams. All the girls loved him. He dated the cheerleader. Her name was Margaret. And he and Margaret, after high school, they got married. He was going great. And all of a sudden, other towns from around the area started to attack. A war broke out, and so they needed him to go to war. Well, he was a hero. He was an absolute hero. He was stronger than the rest. By this time, he was 10 feet tall, and he came home, and he was the hero. And the whole town would chant that his mother was a hurricane and his father was a tornado. Don't stare upon him with the naked eye. He's man among men, prepare to die. And that's what they would sing as he would come home. And he was big parties, huge parades. And as time went on and the war ended, he kept believing this about himself. And he would even sing himself. He'd come home to his wife, Margaret, and he'd sing, my mother's a hurricane, my father's a tornado. Don't look upon me with the naked eye. I'm man among men, prepare to die. Oh, yeah, that's me. And he was so full of himself, there was kind of no room for anybody else in there. But he would come home at night after work, and he was hungry, and he really thought a lot about himself. And he would sit down. No, he could eat. I mean, he could eat 10 goats at one sitting. And then he'd wash it down with a gallon of water. And when he was done, he'd let out a burp that would blow the clothes off the clothesline. And then he'd reach out the window, pick on a fence post, and pick his teeth with a fence post. Well, Man Among Men was kind of driving his wife Margaret crazy. She said, what happened to that guy? I mean, he was such a happy, friendly guy, and now he picks on people in town. He demands things from people, and they're so afraid of him, they give him anything he wants. He was really turning into what we call a pain. So Margaret's down on the river, and she's working on the river, getting water and cleaning things, and this other woman was down there saying, oh, my husband, he calls himself man among men. All he says is man among men. Margaret, no. She said, my husband is man among men. Oh, this woman said, no, you have no idea. My husband is man among men. Well, Margaret goes home that night, and her husband walks in, and I'm home. He does his poem. He sits down. He eats his 10 goats. He picks his teeth with the fence post. He burps the clothes off the line. And then she says, husband, I was just down at the river today, and I met a woman who said her husband is man among men. What? He said, I'm man among men. She says, I don't think you are. There's somebody else coming up into your place. He said, no, where does he live? And she says, I think he lives over in the valley across the hill. Oh, I'm going to go settle this thing once and for all, he said. So Man Among Men gets up, and he goes over the valley and in the next valley, and there's this house. Well, this must be the man's house because it is the biggest house he's ever seen in his life. And he reaches up for the door knocker, but he can't even get halfway up to knock on the door. So he reaches up as high as he can, knock, 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 knock. And a woman comes to the door, and she says, yes. And he says, I'm here to see your husband. I'm man among men. She goes, you're man among men? Well, you're kind of puny. What? He says, let me in. So she lets him in. And sure enough, he's standing there, and he sees this chair. It's taller than he can even reach to the seat. He sees this plate of food. He says, do you have somewhere else I could wait for your husband besides here? Like maybe a closet, maybe a place to hide? And she says, yeah. So he goes into this closet and he looks out the crack. Well, all of a sudden he hears the loudest boom, boom, boom. And in walks this giant and sits at the table like it's a little tiny table. The giant eats 30 goats, washes down with 7 gallons of water. Then he burps and blows all the leaves off the tree. In fact, the tree falls over. He reaches out, grabs the tree, and picks his teeth with that. Well, our little man among men says, la, 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 and he starts to leave. He makes his way to the door, and he's opening the door, and it makes the slightest little creak. And the giant says, who is there? Oh, it's man among men. He says, man among men, I'm man among men. And he stands up to full height. Yeah, said man among men. And he runs out and he runs across this stream and then through a field and then through a little town. And he sees this farmer and he says, help me, you have to help me, help me. And the farmer's, well, I'd like to help you, but I got to finish plowing my field. Oh, plow your field. And man among men grabs the plow and plow, 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 plow. He's all done. He turns and there's the giant right on his heels. So he runs. This time he runs, swims an ocean, goes across a mountain range, goes through an entire city, and he's in this meadow, and he sees another farmer. He says, please, you have to help me, you have to help me. The farmer says, I'd like to, but I got to finish putting the shingles on my roof. I'll put your shingles on your roof. Boom, 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 boom. He puts on the shingles, turns, there's the giant again, and he runs into this field. Out of breath, he can't run another step. And the giant picks him up and holds him over his maw, which is his mouth, and he's going to drop him in, and that man among men can see other little men among men in there, and he can also see all this moss and all. Oh, gee, it looks like the worst mouth you could ever fall into. And the giant's about ready to drop him in when boom, 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 and he looks across the field. There's another giant the same size as that giant. So he sets down man among men, and then boom, boom, boom. The giants meet each other in the middle of the field. One grabs a tree, one grabs a boulder. The one with the tree, boom, hits the other giant in the head. The one with the boulder, boom, hits him in the head. Boom, 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 boom. And they pound themselves into the middle of the earth. And every time there's an earthquake, that's those 2 giants still pounding themselves in the head. Well, our little man among men made his way home, opened the door and sat at the table, and Margaret brought him his goats and his water. And when he was done, he burped politely with his hand over his mouth, picked his teeth very politely, and went in and helped with the dishes. And Margaret said, how was your day today, man among men? And he said, never call me that again. And then they were together, and they lived happily ever after. Thanks for your time this morning, you all. I hope you have a really, really good day. I sure had fun getting to tell stories for you. Bye-bye.